Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You have an athlete who's a top performing athlete, but his coach just doesn't seem to quite know how to communicate with him. What are you going to tell him?
Well, I'm going to get the athlete to become a better communicator and get really proactive with the coach. So maybe the coach might not have the super high skill sets, but if I'm coaching the athlete, eventually they will.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What would you tell a pro athlete who's struggling, on the family side of things? You're pro athlete, so you're traveling a lot. Your wife is putting pressure on you. How do you help them deal with that part?
Yeah, so that one's not uncommon and it's super tricky and challenging and it has to be addressed. And it's like anything else, it's going to be, you need to be proactive. Obviously, if you have children, it gets complicated and everything. But the communication piece is a big part of what we work on, no matter what kind of athlete I'm working with. Pro athletes in particular, if they're traveling a lot, the communication is going to have to be higher when they are home or they are with their partner or their wife or whomever. They're working on being as present as possible, because when you're present, you're enhancing your experience in the relationship, and that's valuable.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
Team is performing excellent. All the coach does is just give them negative feedback all the time. So what would you tell the coach?
Yeah, so that's not uncommon, and I do have coaches that I coach, but in that case, if the person doesn't, if the kid is like a team captain or something, he can actually have a personal conversation with the coach or a series of them to let the coach know in really decent ways that, hey, what are we doing right here? So, that's something that can be addressed. It's not easy because people are often fearful in situations like that. But so what? I'm teaching everybody to be proactive motherfuckers here, basically.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What would you tell a kid who has it? They have the talent, they have the looks, they have it all, but they don't quite have the mental game yet, and they think they don't need a sports psychologist.
If they think they don't need a sports psychologist, they'll find out at some point they might need one, right? I mean, look, I'm coaching a pro tennis player now, and his parents, got him started with me maybe like 9 months ago or something, or 6 months ago. It took 3 or 4 months for him to fully embrace my philosophy and what we're up to, and to embrace the mental game. And now he gets it. So sometimes it takes a little while that's the art on my end of the equation, is to kind of motivate them to understand, how and why this is so important. If they're not ready, they're not ready. So some kids just aren't going to be ready, and that's okay.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
How do you help them? What is your role as a sports psychologist in terms of helping them negotiate contracts and things of that nature?
Well, you mean in terms of pro athletes? Mm-hmm. It's really about, teaching them how to honor themselves and trust their instincts and their intuition and ask the right questions, right? So I'm always helping people, whether they're a pro or not, develop and trust their intuition. I'm asking questions like, what does your gut say? And then I'm also part sounding board there as they explore that process, but I'm helping them get really proactive and handle agents, managers, and so on, straight up, directly, and with a high level of proactivity.
Awesome. Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What are mental game techniques you give to athletes to enhance their focus and concentration during games?
Yeah, so the meditation, the mindfulness, the visualization, the breath work, the positive self-talk, and what I call enhanced communication skills, the ability to handle things in the moment as often as possible. The more we do the fundamentals of the mental game here, the better we get in general. And then we're building this crazy foundation so we can default into more presence, as opposed to what most people default into, more worry or more head.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
We've been working with some interns, so we're seeing that sports psychology is becoming something more prevalent.
Correct.
What's something you can encourage students who are looking to get into sports psychology? What's something you can encourage them to do?
I'm a little bit out of the box, so I'm not a fan of just graduate school alone. I don't think it teaches enough, and internships and working for teams. Working for a team obviously would be immensely valuable, just because you're getting so much experience. But that said, I think living abroad, traveling abroad, doing things that require more courage and more creativity are going to help you train your mind. And you also want to train your mind a lot, regardless of whether you travel or not. Meditative states, mindfulness practice, visualization, breath work. You want to start living the things that you're teaching. That's what I do. And the abroad thing is just a metaphor for having more courage and more creativity. So you want to live this thing, and then you can teach it.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
How do you help them? What is your role as a sports psychologist in terms of helping them negotiate contracts and things of that nature?
Well, you mean in terms of pro athletes?
Mm-hmm.
It's really about, teaching them how to honor themselves and trust their instincts and their intuition and ask the right questions, right? So I'm always helping people, whether they're a pro or not, develop and trust their intuition. I'm asking questions like, what does your gut say? And then I'm also part sounding board there as they explore that process, but I'm helping them get really proactive and handle agents, managers, and so on, straight up, directly, and with a high level of proactivity.
Awesome.